come back up, Byron, excuse me. I'm just gonna pose a couple questions to either side, and then they have a minute or something to defend it, and then there will be a quick rebuttal from the other side. So, Lois, what does print journalism do that blogging does not?
Remain static. Once the paper's printed, there it is. Take more time to reach people. I actually sent a letter to the Oregonian. They ran a story on a Friday. I sent a letter to them expanding on some of the ideas in it, and it took them a week to print it, by which point nobody could remember what the first article was about. So remain static, take a long time. Oh, and be controlled by money interests, because it's very expensive to print papers. So it really does make you rely much more on advertising, which some blogs may rely on, but they don't have to. So I guess those are three things that journalism does that blogs don't.
Would you like to review?
Well, bloggers are the toys of the elitist rich kids that I know. So I find that a lot of bloggers have a lot of money, and mommy and daddy are paying for it. The other thing about blogs is they disappear like that. We may be static in the fact that at least I know where to find it. It's in the bathroom, right by right by the toilet.
You're sure you're not thinking of some other printed material?
No, but the thing about blogs is that sometimes things disappear very quickly. Either we have the problem with our blog. Well, we only have 5 entries on our splash page, and so if you want to get something up, you just hope that 4 people aren't blogging right behind you, and so that you disappear. So it's just the flying into the ether.
Okay, this is for Byron. What does print journalism need to do in order to combat the corporate influence that has penetrated it and contributed to its loss and credibility?
Okay, we're talking about corporations and how they've taken over the print product, and that's really happening with the VVM, which is the Village Voice Media, because most of those papers are tied into, bad people, investment bankers, and stuff like that. So we kind of lost our way here somehow. I don't know if I have an answer to how we do that, other than we know as a product that print is dying, right? Print is dying because you no longer have to buy ads in publications to get your message out there. So I hope that out of this death of the printed page, which will move on to journalism, whether it be a tablet that floats in front of you or it goes inside your head by a chip. That we will find a way to go back to what the goals of the original ideas of our founders are.
Do you have a rebuttal?
You know I do. So I think the problem with Byron's answer is that it made it sound as though the corporate influence on journalism is a new thing and a new problem to contend with, when in fact, if you know who William Randolph Hearst is, he amassed a huge empire by controlling newspapers. So this is hardly a new thing, and I think it's something that we like to pretend is not there for newspapers. If you don't know who William Randolph Hearst is, you should rent the movie Citizen Kane, and whenever they talk about his sled, pretend that they're talking about his mistress, and it's essentially the same story. I was going to actually say what part of his mistress was called Rosebud, but it's a family debate, so I won't. That part's really true. That I think that the idea that newspapers have corporate interests is hardly a new one, and maybe the crisis around advertising makes that laid bare. But newspapers were never run as nonprofits; they were always run as businesses.
So do you see blogs immune from the umbrella of corporate media?
No, not at all. I mean, everybody who puts a Google ad, bit on their blog certainly is beholden to the idea of trying to sell things. I like Byron's idea that the blogs are the realm of rich kids, because as a blogger, that would make me a rich kid. So I would be excited to have him persuade us all that that is true.
Do you have a rebuttal?
To what?
Do you? I posed the question if Lois saw blogs immune from the umbrella of corporate media. Do you think they are?
Well, no, absolutely not. always look at OregonLive.com. That has blogs all over the place, and it is, pretty large corporation owned by a very wealthy family called the Newhouses in New York City. Correct? Am I right? So, of course not. They're not. What will happen with corporations is that as long as there's money to be made on blogs, they will find a way to make money on blogs. So it's really not a question of whether it's a blog, it's a product. And if the product is popular and there's a way to make money by selling car ads on MTV and tying it into a movie that was filmed locally in Portland, which was a movie called Twilight. They did that. They sold car ads to, I think, Lexus or something, and they talked about the actors' favorite cars. I mean, and that's a blog. That's a website blog. And they'll get tons of hits, and they go back to the advertiser and say, we have these many hits, and you should advertise with us. So, yeah, of course.
Okay, this one is to you, Byron. What is a journalist, and what actually separates it from a citizen blogging? I think you started going into your introduction of editing, and is it just a semantic, or
I don't use big
does
words.
being a journalist mean more than?
I don't know. I think a journalist is someone who has to be responsible for what they say, and often I don't see that in the blogging world. So, simple as that.
Do you want to?
I think journalist is actually it's a harder term than others, that you can't call yourself a medical doctor without going through certain training and actually passing the boards. You can't practice law without passing the bar, but journalist doesn't have that kind of professional certification. So
I disagree.
Well, there is no official board of journalism that regulates people's professional credentials, or that makes people go through annual professional development the way that other fields do. So it's a funny field in that way, because there has not historically been an accepted credentialing and kind of oversight of it as a profession.
You've never worked for my editors. I worked for 5 years at the Oregonian as a contributor, and it was one of the hardest, most difficult places.
I'm not saying that there aren't places of rigor, but I might be very rigorous in delivering dental care to Courtney, but I can't just call myself a dentist and start doing it. I could be very rigorous in my reporting and get a job. I would have to get a job, but I could just become a journalist at that moment. So that's the difference, I guess, is Courtney's fillings versus Byron's columns.
Okay, audience, this is your time to decide.
Do they ask questions about it?
Or no, they decide who defended their side.
Are we doing the applause meter?
Yeah, let's do an applause meter. So, for Lois and blogging, who loves to blog? Who loves Byron and the Willamette Week? You took this one.
I'm surprised.
I think I am too.
I'm going to blog about this right when we're done.
All right.
Really.
Just whenever you link to my blog, because then I can
Okay,
get one.
sounds good.